The Joe Montemurro era is underway for the Matildas. 4 games in, 2 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. So there's plenty to talk about from these couple of weeks of games that we've seen. We'd love to hear from you guys. What have you made of these games? What do you think we've learned so far? These results don't necessarily reflect what we saw in these games. The mixed results here, but even in some of those wins, the performances weren't necessarily all that great. I thought actually that 1-1 draw against Slovenia, Australia were very good in that game. Obviously that loss against Panama was probably our poorest out of all 4 of these games. Plenty of positives from these matches, but also plenty of things to work on. So here's 5 things that I think we learned from these recent Matildas friendlies. Number 1, the Matildas are determined to play a possession-based brand of football. This is being implemented by Joe Montemurro. It was spoken about publicly in the lead up to these games. That's the philosophy that he wants to instill in this team. He wants to make sure this team is controlling the ball, moving forward at the right times. And he spoke about a lot how so far they've been working mostly on things at the back and working into midfield. They haven't quite worked on those attacking combinations just yet, and hopefully that will come. But as we saw in these games, Matildas having a lot of possession. There were long passages of all 4 of these matches where Australia were really controlling things. A lot of that possession was just sort of knocking it across the back line. It is clear and obvious that this team now, under the leadership of Joe Montemurro, wants to play a possession-based brand of football, which I like. Lesson number 2 I think we learned is I think these games made me realize how good our star players are. And by that I mean nothing against the players who did feature across all of these games. We've got such a fantastic squad with great depth. It was great to see a great mixture of players, some players who haven't been capped that much, and some debutants coming in as well. It was really, really awesome to see. But it was obvious when we were struggling in some of these games that we were missing some of our star players. Talking about the likes of Caelan Ford, Mary Fowler, Cooney Cross as well. Even in those last couple of games against Panama, when we were struggling physically a bit, missing maybe someone like Winona Heatley or Alana Kennedy in defence to provide that strength and security at the back, or even in defensive midfield as well. So it made me realize how good those players are. I mean, they're so important to the team, and I'm really excited to see how this Joe Montemurro system of play goes with a full strength, fully fit Matilda squad. Sam Kerr in there as well. I mean, imagine that, even that World Cup squad that we had a couple of years ago, all those star players, imagine that team playing together in this new system. I think it could really, really work. So I'm excited to see that hopefully in the future. The third thing that I want to highlight is that I think that head coach Joe Montemurro is going to have a real tricky time when it comes to picking his squads going forward. It feels like there's sort of our starting 11. There is a starting 11 there that is Australia's strongest. I think we can all agree. But it feels like there's, maybe 10, 15, 20 players almost who are in the mix to be named in future Matilda squads. But there's so many competition for places now. And I think Montemurro has a real tricky task on his hand going forward in future camps. It was great for this window of games to name so many players. I'm really fascinated to see what he does with team selection going forward. Does he keep bringing through those younger players who are less experienced but are really bright prospects? Or is he going to rely more so on those experienced players? Even some of those experienced players who came into this camp but haven't necessarily featured all that much in recent years. I'm talking about the likes of Chloe Berryhill, Emily Gilnick, even someone like Alex Chidiac as well. Where do they fit into the Matilda setup going forward as well? So there's a lot of headaches for Joe Montemurro, not necessarily when it comes to, again, that starting 11 necessarily, but that next group of players sort of coming off the bench. Who is going to be amongst that group of players moving forward for the Matildas, especially as we get closer to the Asian Cup? The fourth thing I think we learnt from these friendly matches is that there is still a lot of improvement needed pretty much in all areas of the park, but that's okay. Obviously, this is a new era for Australia. We are coming in with this new head coach who's implementing a new style of play, and it's going to take some time, and that's what these games were for. Really, the purpose of these matches were to get the players used to this new system and the new just philosophy around the training camp as well. It's been spoken about a lot how the training levels have been really high and really intense for the players, and Joe Montemurro, I think, has talked a lot about the standards that he wants to set for this team as well. And while that's all great to hear, we do need improvements in pretty much all areas of the park. Defensively, some mistakes, cheaply giving the ball away, getting caught in possession, and just transitioning the ball further up the pitch a bit more effectively. And especially in the final third, there were a few times, many times actually throughout these games, where we got into decent positions, but it just came unstuck for the Matildas. In game 1 against Panama, so many opportunities where we got forward, Hayley Rasso, Emily Gilnick in a dangerous position, but it would just come unstuck. We would just lose the ball. I mean, that was partly credit to Panama's, really solid defending in that game, but there's obviously, work that we need to do in those areas, to create those combinations a bit more effectively. And Joe Montemurro has said that much in his press conference. He's talked about how that's an area of the game that they haven't necessarily worked on yet. So hopefully, they do get to work on that real soon. And the final thing is simply that I think Joe Montemurro is indeed the right coach to lead the Matildas forward. Look, obviously the performances and the results weren't perfect, but there was enough evidence from these 4 games to suggest that this team is going to be really competitive and really strong, I think, going forward. There's the foundations there for something really exciting. And again, once we get players back from injuries, our strongest 11, I think in a tournament, I could see this side being really, really difficult to beat. A stronger defense and going forward in attack. There could be plenty of goals going forward for Australia here. So I just keep thinking about what this side is going to look like. Again, going back to that point of when those players come back from injury, when we've got a full strength 11, I think this team's going to be really, really top quality. For me, I am confident in Joe Montemurro. We'd love to hear from you guys. How are you feeling? Despite these games not necessarily maybe being the best for the Matildas, for me, there were certainly positives to take out of these games, and I think we are on the right track going forward. What did you learn from this run of friendly matches for Australia? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks very much for tuning in, and make sure to stay subscribed for more Matildas content right here on the channel. My name's Lockie, and I'll see you in the next one.